Okay, so Bill and Ted. This is a PG rated film, I believe, because very mild language, references to stuff, I guess, the mildest of violence. Um, what can I say? There was a lot that went over my head, there was. But to within the same regard as, say, the Detective Pikachu film, which, a lot of it I didn't understand, but it didn't affect my enjoyment of the film. I was still able to really enjoy the film. And the same applies here. I I fell in love with the characters very, very quickly, which is always a good sign. I have no pre-existing knowledge of the franchise other than like be excellent to one another or whatever it is. I I'm aware of it. I've been meaning to watch it for years, and I just haven't got around to it. And then I saw it on the cinema listings, and I went, "Oh, do you know what? Why not? Let's watch part three." Yes, I haven't seen part one and two, but theoretically, given the fact that there's 25 years between the films, this film ought to be able to stand on its own, and it did. It really did. There were literally three different time travel plots going on in this film, so that was a little weird and a little confusing, but also quite brilliant. I won't spoil sort of how that happened or why or whatever. The finale was appropriately epic. Although, honestly, I don't see myself downloading the final song and being like, oh my god, I have to listen to this again, this is amazing! I was kind of hoping for that kind of track, because the whole point of Bill and Ted is that for the past two films, from what I gathered, and the duration of this film as well, they've been told that they are supposed to be, to be the makers of this amazing musical track that will change the world forever, that will save mankind, so to speak. And so when the finale happened, and the end of the franchise happened, essentially the end of the trilogy, and this song was, I guess, created. I don't know, yes, no, maybe, I don't want to spoil. It was kind of a bit like, oh, okay, was that it? Oh, okay. I guess that was epic. I mean, yes, it was epic, but it wasn't like play on repeat, life changing kind of epic. Which, I mean, I guess it's not going to be. Depends on, those kind of songs don't exactly come around every day. But the music didn't speak to me as much as I hoped it would. The characters did, though. The characters really spoke to me. I loved them very much, very quickly. They were just adorable. They were adorable. They clearly haven't aged in 25 years. They talk very strangely, but in the best way. They have daughters now, and they have wives who apparently were princesses before. That appears to be something that happened in a prior film, like they travelled back in time and they got these princesses, and these princesses are their wives now, and they've had children, and their children are kind of grown up, I guess, sort of 17, 18, maybe early 20s, I don't know, but sort of, I guess, about the same kind of age that Bill and Ted were when they did the first Bill and Ted film. And they are just female versions of their dads, and it's adorable. It's absolutely adorable. When you see them next to each other, it's like, okay, Bill and Ted grew breasts. And it's really cute. So there's that. Lots of, I feel like there were a lot of characters, and this was confirmed by my friend who went with me, John, that there were a lot of returning characters who were played by the actors that played them in the other in the other film or films. Although the exception being there was a gentleman who helped them, travel through time in the last two films, who the actor passed away. So we had a brief appearance from him, like as a hologram, which was cute. That was a nice little touch for the fans, I felt. Again, it went over my head a little bit. Like, I didn't appreciate it as much as I probably would have if I'd seen the other films. But it was I understood the significance of it, because it was mentioned that basically you had this girl who was his daughter, and she was taking over his time traveling escapades, I guess, and helping out Bill and Ted the way that her father did in the last two films. And it was mentioned that he's dead, so they've killed off the character, as a reflection of the fact that the actor is no longer with us, which is really sweet. It was very beautifully done. Reminded me of how Carrie Fisher's passing was done in the recent Star Wars film. It was subtle. It worked for the plot. It worked for the for the fans, I feel. I didn't get all emotional or anything, but I'm sure people did when they saw that. I'm sure they did. Direction was really good. Music, like I said, was generally all around good, but not necessarily as, I think possibly my expectations were quite high, because I was, I wanted to see what the fuss was about, and I guess because I was expecting something amazing, incredible, fantastic, blew me away kind of thing for the finale, and it didn't. But that's possibly because my expectations were too high, because I was expecting, the greatest song known to man, which I guess is Tenacious D, but that's a whole other film. That's a whole other band. That's a whole other thing. Also, there was a character that I think, because they did this whole time travel thing where they were getting people from throughout time, which I guess appears to be a theme for the franchise. But so there's some guy from present day, I guess. I didn't quite follow who he was or why he was important, or I think he's a rapper, or a singer or something. But he had these really cool parts where, so I obviously he's a real life musician of some descript, and so they make him a part of the band. But there are these moments where his character just goes off into these really intelligent rants where he's saying all this techno mumbo jumbo, and the people around him are a bit like, okay, and could you translate that into English, please? And I thought that was a really cute touch, because of course you see a rapper or whatever, and you don't expect them to understand quantum physics or anything like that. It was really cool. It was a nice little touch. I did quite enjoy his character. There is a cyborg, kind of, well, not a cyborg, a robot. The robot was adorable. I loved his character. The Return of Death, apparently. I didn't know Death was in the other films, so, that wasn't a return for me, but I could tell that the audience was quite happy to see him back. The reaction from Death was good, and then it was explained to me at the end of the film that Death had returned. During the film it is kind of explained, but, for all I know, that could have happened off screen. I didn't know for certain whether it happened on screen or not. So yeah, just overall a really quite enjoyable film. There were some children watching it in front of me. Couldn't have been older than maybe 8 or 9 years old, and they seemed to quite enjoy it. Although they did seem to also talk quite a bit during the film. They seemed to have a few questions for their parents, which their parents answered. They whispered amongst themselves. So it potentially wouldn't necessarily work for children, because the fact that they had to ask their parents questions doesn't bode well for that dynamic. So I understood things without having to ask questions, but I guess the children did need to ask questions. So there's that to factor in. But they did generally seem to enjoy it. You know, they had a bit. There were a few giggles coming from their direction, and yes. Oh, and do stay until the end of the credits, because there is an adorable little thing at the end of the credits. It's a cute little addition. You know, it doesn't set up a sequel or anything like that. It just seemed. It was just really good. I liked it. It was, you know, something that Marvel would be proud of. You know, Marvel aren't the only ones that have done end of credits things. I usually wait until the end of the credits to see if there's anything going, and I'm glad that I did, because it was a really cute little addition that I think rounded off the film rather nicely. So yes, do wait until after the credits. Overall, I would very much enjoy it. I'd give it a solid 8 out of 10, really, which is really good, especially since I haven't seen the other two films.